Welcome to another edition of Pete's Pigskin Preview presented by Meadowbrook Wealth Advisors of Raymond James. I'm Neil McCready, joined as always by MPW digital football expert Pete DeWeese from his abode and studio in Georgia as they get ready for a high school second round playoff game on Friday night. So send some positive vibes to Pete's team Friday night when you're sending positive vibes out. Ole Miss, 8-2 now. 4-2 in the SEC. More important than anything else, they're ninth in the college football playoff rankings. They head to Gainesville, Florida on Saturday, noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time to face the Gators. The Gators coming off a win over LSU to improve to 5-5 overall, 3-4 in the SEC. Ole Miss, a 10-point favorite as of this recording. The Rebels apparently, frankly, just need 2 wins. They need to beat Florida and then beat Mississippi State, and they will make the college football playoff in some shape, form, or fashion, depending on what happens elsewhere, possibly even playing a first-round game in Oxford, but more importantly, getting into the field, the 12-team field for the first time. So a lot on the line when the Rebels and the Gators get together at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. We'll talk about that in just a moment with Pete. First, I want to tell you that we've been brought to you all season long by our friends at Meadowbrook Wealth Advisors of Raymond James. It's a full-service investment team based in Jackson, Mississippi, providing financial planning and investment management to clients across the state and surrounding areas. Ryan Geary and his partners are a local team that utilize the strength and resources of a national firm to bring their clients an impeccable level of service. This includes access to investment strategies, portfolio managers not available to all investors. If you are interested in a no-obligation consultation or you just want to be added to their monthly market email update list, reach out to financial advisor Ryan Geary with Meadowbrook Wealth Advisors of Raymond James, 601-368-2215 or ryan.geary@raymondjames.com. Raymond James and Associates Incorporated, member New York Stock Exchange, SIPC. Pete, how are you?
I'm doing well. Ready to see Ole Miss get back on the field. Feels like a long time ago. I can tell you that living in Georgia, I've not been. It's not been a terrible situation for me. That's for sure. But ready to see Ole Miss get back on the field. You know, there's been so much talk and so much speculation. And then obviously you've had 2 weeks of college football playoff rankings now. And just for there to be so much, it feels like has happened in college football and so much of it that impacts Ole Miss. And they haven't taken the field in what seems like forever now. Excited to see, don't love the time of day that the game is being played. But other than that, I'm excited to see Ole Miss get back to the field and try to secure their spot.
Yeah, had they had to play last Saturday, I would have been worried for them. Not that they couldn't have handled it, but it would have been a monumental task physically and emotionally, and just gas in tank. I don't know what the word for that is, but just being fueled. I think it would have been a challenge. Again, not saying they couldn't have done it, but it would have been something you would have sweated. A week later, that's not something I worry about for them.
No, I mean, listen, you put so much emotional stock and mental focus into that game against Georgia, and you come out of it, and you come out of it on the good side of things, and whether you want to talk about the rat poison emojis and all of that stuff. But we've talked before about you can't let a team beat you twice. And we talked about that after the LSU game and maybe some after the Kentucky game. But, you also can't let there be a hangover from victory either that keeps you from playing good ball. So, no, there's no question. Everything you see from a health standpoint, and probably from a regrouping standpoint, the bye week came at a good time. And I will say this as well. You don't know what the next 2 games hold. Obviously Ole Miss hopes and expects to win both of those ball games. But having a late bye week for a team that potentially has an opportunity to make a run and play the longest college football season that has been played to date. Um, Anytime you get a chance to get players healthy late in the season, you relish it.
Yeah, and look, this is no knock on Lane Kiffin, but I'm gonna call a spade a spade. They have played games with the injury report. I will wait and see who is available on Saturday. But if we are to take the Ole Miss coach at his word, he expects Trey Harris back. He expects the offensive line to at least have a full first and second unit available. Expects Caden Lee to be healthy. Caden has confirmed that he feels much better a week and a half after the Georgia game. He was played that game hurt. There's no question about that. I assume Caden Prieskorn feels better. I assume that some of the guys on defense who had some ailments feel better than they did in the immediate aftermath of the Georgia game. Jackson Dart rolled an ankle, was in a boot all of last week. I assume that the open date assisted in the rehabilitation of his ankle, at least to some degree. So all in all, they ought to be a pretty healthy team, considering it's going to be November the 23rd, and nobody is completely healthy on November the 23rd.
Absolutely not.
So Ole Miss and Florida, Pete, the Gators are an interesting club. A lot of talk about DJ Lagway. I know you're going to look at him in a moment. They're coming off of a big emotional win over LSU last weekend in Gainesville, which followed a absolute thumping at the hands of Texas in Austin. Like I mentioned earlier, the Gators 5-5, 3-4. Earlier in the season, there was all sorts of talk about Billy Napier's job status that has subsequently dissipated. He's going to get, from all accounts, at least one more season in Gainesville to get things going. So a lot to dive into with the Florida team that can absolutely play the role of spoiler on Saturday.
Yeah, and they are they're a weird watch. You're talking about a team that out of necessity has played three different quarterbacks. At times, out of questions, they've played two different quarterbacks. Obviously, one is down now, and they obviously want Lagway healthy because he certainly, seems to give them the best shot to win. They're not a roster void of talent. They have size on both lines of scrimmage. Their speed, Florida is always going to be fast. Um, like we said earlier, I mean, they go into Texas, and Texas bullies them around. Now, early in that game, they had some production. I mean, their defensive front got Ewers on the ground a couple of times. They got them off the field, and then things just eventually kind of snowballed on them. You look at the LSU game last week, and they look like almost a completely different team than the team that was in Austin that day. But even so, it's like I was telling you, you look at the box score of that game, and if I covered up the score and just showed you production, you would have looked at it and assumed that LSU won the football game.
No doubt.
They outgained them. The difference ultimately was, I believe, Florida was able to sack Nussmeier 6 times in the course of the game. 7 times, which is not something we've seen from that LSU offensive line. Now, all that being said, I say that. We talked about when we prepped for Ole Miss, South Carolina, we showed clips of South Carolina getting a lot of pressure on the LSU quarterback. We saw Ole Miss go down into Baton Rouge short one of the best pass rushers in college football this year from a production standpoint, and at times be effective getting to the quarterback. So we certainly know that LSU has accomplished players and players with a big future on the offensive line, but Florida showed the ability to expose that a little bit. They did it a little bit against Texas. They certainly were able to do it against LSU. I think that, if Ole Miss can go in and play clean, and if Ole Miss can go in and execute, which is really that's the coach speak and the trick for really anybody in any game you're going to play. But, in those situations, I think you have to like their chances. Ole Miss, part of the challenge is simply going to be, handling a road environment, handling a crowd that has a lot of belief and a team that has a lot of belief after their last game. But, really at this point in the season, outside of the close loss to LSU, Ole Miss has been good on the road. They were really good at South Carolina. Their execution was really freaking good, in Fayetteville. And it wasn't that they played poorly in Baton Rouge. So
Played
I
great
think,
in Winston-Salem.
yeah, played great in Winston-Salem.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, from that standpoint, they're not a team. It's defense is travel, right? That's something people always say. Defense and run game travels. And Ole Miss has played really good defense all season long, but in particular, in a lot of ways, on the road, outside of one half and really one half and one drive versus LSU. Ole Miss has played really good defense. And so if they can go into Gainesville healthy, you certainly have to feel good about the matchup.
The floor is yours, my friend.
So I kind of figure, we will start. Wanted to look at the Texas defense before kind of shifting focus to not the Florida offense. Excuse me. Going to look at the Florida defense versus this Texas offense. Kind of go back to that game, and really just to kind of highlight, there are some similarities between what Texas wants to do offensively. In the way that Sark structures thing. Obviously, he and Kiffin have a history together. They spend a lot of time together. The background in the system, there's so much similarity that does exist, and there's certainly differences as well, but there's a lot that carries over. But I thought that it gave us a good opportunity to look at the structure of the Florida defense, at the type of structure that you might see versus this Ole Miss offense. Okay. So, right out of the gate, very beginning of this game, Texas comes out and they get into what is a bread and butter staple in the Ole Miss offense, where they are going to insert their linebacker on an old school isolation play, and they typically give Jackson Dart an RPO on each side of the field. It is most often a hitch to the boundary, though not always. And then they will sometimes run hitches to the field. They have a couple of different things that they will do to that side of the field. What Florida likes to do often is play bracket coverage. They are going to take the field receiver and they are going to play man-to-man on him and remove him from the page. They're going to dare you to make the long throw to the field, and they feel that they are able to match up. That is going to allow them now, in this particular formation where you have two receivers flex to the right, a tight end, and one receiver down to the bottom and the left of the offense, they are now going to be able to bracket the slot receiver with the nickel and the safety. If he were to release outside, the nickel carries him right now, and you gain the safety late into the run fit. If somebody were to motion out, let the running back, either a linebacker will travel or the nickel will come off, and the safety will now take the slot. To the boundary, when they play bracket, you're going to see the corner outside of the single receiver, and anything outside and vertical he is going to carry. Anything inside, he is going to pass it off and stay in outside trail position so that if the route works back out, they've bracketed, but he knows he has help on the inside. Here, on a rundown for the Texas offense, instead of playing bracket to the boundary, they are going to play trap. Ole Miss loves to throw the hitch into the boundary. Florida is going to try and take that away by alignment and scheme when at all possible. Now, Florida feels good about their front. In particular, I think they like their size on the inside. So they feel good defending 6 with 6 and letting there be late help and support from the third level of the defense. So when they play trap, what I mean by trap is this corner, instead of being outside leverage where he can truly play bracket with the safety and double team this receiver, he is going to sneak inside, and on the snap of the ball, he is going to squat. If the tight end or any player were to release to the flat, he is going to take him. And if you were trying to throw any type of a hitch or a quick slant route, he is going to be underneath that ball immediately, and he's going to prevent the quarterback from being able to make that easy throw. Ole Miss has done a good job protecting the football, especially in the RPO game this year. And you can see here, if they were to throw this hitch into the boundary, that hitch is going to be covered. Here, because the receiver or the corner is clouded, meaning he is down and he is underneath a certain depth, instead of running a hitch, the receiver converts it to a fade. And if the quarterback has laid eyes, it's not out of the question that he is able to maybe try and work the ball into this window. Here you see Quinn Ewers has his eyes to the field. The receiver's up top. That inside receiver works vertical. He is going to get collisioned here. There's help over the top by the other safety. And if he holds this ball any longer, there perhaps is opportunity to attack the middle of the field. And I do think that is one thing that you will see Ole Miss try to do a lot on Saturday, is attack the middle of the field. Not only in the passing game, but in the RPO game as well. Here, quarterback makes a handoff read, and they're able to get a solid gain. But Florida, again, they're comfortable 6-on-6, and they're comfortable with the seventh defender. And in this case, it's the cover down corner fitting in late. But now you're looking at an easy 5-yard gain. If Ole Miss is going to get a box that allows them the potential to run the football, it is going to be about, as we go to the end zone copy here, it is going to be about how do you handle movement and how do you handle big players on the interior. Because, that joker is a sizable fella. And then they have enough quickness and enough length on the perimeter. Ole Miss has to like their chances in this run box if they can handle the interior. Florida will be aggressive with their linebackers. Their linebackers do a good job. Here, you see they are able to really not even have to work the combo. 65, the center, has to work up to number 6, the Mike linebacker. And you really want your right guard. If he can get his head play side, this play hits much cleaner. Here you see he kind of gets away with a little bit. Those hands are certainly grabbing on 21 there. And they probably get away with a little bit. Ole Miss has to be able to handle that interior pressure, get a little bit of movement. And if they do, there's opportunity to run the football. Where this defense is often at their best, and they're not necessarily a great third down team, but when they can get you into predictable situations, they do a good job of showing you different presentations and trying to bait you into different things. No different than what we've seen from most defenses that you see kind of in modern college football. But you can see here pre-snap, Florida has 6 guys at the line of scrimmage. Now, from a quarterback standpoint, if you're the quarterback right here, this is not a traditional man-to-man structure. There is a 0% chance that this is a true 6-man all-out pressure. They're not going to play man-to-man with one of these guys being responsible for one of these guys from a 12 or 13-yard depth position. So from a quarterback standpoint, somebody's going to drop. It's about identifying where do I send my protection and then not letting one of these players get out underneath my ball and get out underneath my route. You can see here, Texas is going to use a little bit of motion. They're going to motion their tight end out. They're going to create a little opening in the middle of the field, and Ewers just never sees it. He fakes the pitch, gets his eyes around, and what they're going to do is they are going to drop here.
Right into the passing lane.
He is going to become this wall player. Tight end is working across. Ewers never sees him, and Texas really gets away with one right here because this very easily could have been an interception early in the game, set Florida's offense up in great field position. Now, he holds that ball any longer. You see the other player comes from here. He becomes the middle of the field player in this cover 2 scheme. He becomes this curl player right here. If Ewers is able to hold on to this ball just a little bit longer, this window here is opening up. The window, if that ball is dropped here, is opening up. There's space to throw the football. they are not going to be a heavy man-to-man team. That's not what I've seen in the games that I have watched. But they do a good job playing their bracket, trying to keep things in front of them. And if you're on rhythm and you're good with spacing, there are windows to be found. Now, the other thing you'll notice here is just the situational awareness by the Florida defense. It is 2nd and 10 right here. When these linebackers come off the line of scrimmage and get into their drop, they are 100% fighting for depth. They are fighting for those sticks. Okay, they are going to rally up to anything in front of them. They know they have to protect the shelf behind them because these safeties play so high so often in coverage. So there is opportunity for underneath routes in this scheme, against this scheme. And on 2nd down in particular, if Jackson Dart's not afraid to take those check downs when they're there, there is some money to be made. Okay. Good design right here. Really, really simple design. They're going to line up Texas. They're going to put their tight end. And one thing I saw, a decent amount is Texas used a decent amount of tempo. This is not necessarily an example, but they're just going to change the picture. They're going to start with a back out wide. There's a tight end to the right, a running back to the right, one receiver, 2 receivers to the left. And they're going to motion the one receiver from the right side into the backfield, let him get set. Then they're going to take the existing back and they're going to motion him back out. So again, it's all about communication. It's about making the defense think, making them check right here. And now they are going to show this bubble screen to the outside receiver, or to the running back that's motioning outside. The outside receiver is going to inside release, and he's going to clear through this post and try to take any near safety with him. The slot receiver is going to set up, and he is going to show a stalk position like he is blocking for that screen. And as soon as the nickel triggers, the quarterback knows, here goes the release by the receiver. And as soon as that leverage is downhill from the defender, put the ball in the air, and I've got an explosive. The slot does a really nice job of being patient. Okay, the motion affects the nickel. You can see they're pushing their coverage. It gets them out of the bracket pre-snap before any motion happens. We've got a bracket right here. As soon as that motion happens, it breaks the bracket, forces the late communication. Again, the slot does a really nice job, and there he goes releasing down the seam for an easy walk-in touchdown. There are ways that Lane Kiffin will manipulate the coverage structure. He will try to break those brackets, force late communication, and try and create one-on-one matchups down the field for his receivers. Pushing on just a little bit later in the game, this is a scheme. I mean, we've seen pre-scoring scored on this against Penn State, if I recall correctly. Last year in the bowl game. They scored against somebody on it earlier in the season. And quite honestly, whether it's poor design or poor eye discipline by the Florida defense, I can't tell you. I don't know 100% what the coverage call is. But Texas is going to come out with 3 receivers to the left, 1 to the right. They're going to start the running back on the right, and then they're going to bounce him to the other side. Okay. It appears when this ball is snapped that they are playing cover 2 to the single receiver. So that means that this corner and this safety are giving eyes now to the single receiver. The safety to the field is walked out all the way over 2. That is 100% an indicator that he is anticipating somebody to give him relief in the middle of the field. Whether that's one of these linebackers popping out or it's miscommunication and he's expecting the safety from the boundary to come over. Here, they are going to work an outside zone to the boundary, and the tight end is going to work right down the middle of the field. And as long as there is no safety capping that route, this is as an easy of an RPO read and as easy of a touchdown as you can possibly find.
Yeah, that was pitch and catch.
Oh, it's absolutely pitch and catch, and it is absolutely stealing. What if you're Florida here, like I said, not having somebody in the middle of the field or poaching over to take the tight end as he works vertical right there. Somebody has to be responsible. You can see it is a pressure look. They're not popping anybody out to the middle of the field. The only player that might have had that responsibility is this defender, and there is no way in hell he's going to get there from that position, especially when he's getting the run action his way. Okay. So I do think, again, it's just a simple example. It's 3-by-1. It's a late motion by the running back. Give the quarterback a very simple read, and you hope that they bust coverage very much in the same fashion. Moving on just a little bit later. Okay. This is a good look at the bracket coverage that I've talked about. Okay. There's two receivers to the left of the offense. Okay. And you have a corner and a safety over those two receivers. When the safety motions away, instead of rotating the coverage and bringing the safety from the boundary and cheating him to the field, he is going to stay backside, and you are getting this 2-on-1. Ole Miss loves to use this type of motion, and we've talked several times on this show about how they love to work flood routes into the boundary. We've watched them from this set without motion throw some type of a cell concept. We've watched them use motion where they work a post and then break back out. Ole Miss really likes to work routes into this intermediate to deep area back into the boundary. They're going to bracket this receiver here. So the motion happens, the safety doesn't rotate, so the corner knows he's got inside help right there. You can see once the safety recognizes its pass, he's going to turn and find one. If that single receiver were to break inside, he's going to drive it and take it, knowing he has outside and late over the top help from the corner. Here, the receiver's pushing vertical, so they're just going to double team him. And if this ball's out in rhythm on this curl route, it's open. You can see it. If viewers will pull the trigger right here when he gets to it right now, if that ball's out in rhythm, it has a chance. He instead takes his check down. Florida's in position, and they limit the gain. Okay. What Ole Miss is going to have to do is be able to take advantage of and have answers for these brackets into the boundary. One way they'll do that, like using the motion here, is try and get a player flooding that zone from the opposite side of the field. Try to clear this safety out with motion or design and try to beat the one-on-one. Because, again, you are going to see on Saturday that to the wide side of the field, Florida is almost always going to press and play man-to-man on that outside receiver so that they can use their safeties to play bracket elsewhere in the coverage. So, again, windows are there. It's about being on time, being on rhythm, okay? And you can see you go to the end zone shot. Again, Florida does a good job. Different group of players than we saw earlier. Again, still size on the inside, and they do a decent job collapsing the pocket. But if you give Jackson Dart time, he has certainly shown the ability to push the ball downfield. Okay. Here, all right, again, you're 2-by-2 now to the boundary. You're going to get a true cover 2 look. You've got two receivers, so now it is going to play off. It's really more of what's kind of known as a palms look. These two are essentially going to pass off and be responsible for these two with some inside help. You are getting more of a man-to-man look to the short side, to the wide side of the field. Okay, so now this player that's showing pressure or showing linebacker is actually going to drop out and be a deep player here. These two guys are going to play a bracket on these two. We're up top working inside and out with those two. So what Texas is going to do here is they're just going to work a simple concept here. Okay, it is an inverted smash. He is going to push vertical, and he is going to work the corner route. The inside receiver is going to work the flat. Easy read for the quarterback. Put your eyes on the cornerback. If he drifts deep, you're going to work the ball to the flat unless he's been leveraged by the linebacker, at which point you bring your eyes backside. If the corner works down, the ball has to be out in rhythm to the cell route or the corner route behind it. Here, corner squats, ball should be out now. There it is in rhythm. Easy throw into that window. The way that Ole Miss typically is going to pair this combination is they are going to bring some type of a Y cross concept from the other side of the field to try and now open up the middle of the field or over the top if they get outnumbered into the boundary. Again, you give them 2 receivers to the boundary, they will play this type of clouded concept, gives you a very easy indicator, easy read, and you can be on rhythm. The more Ole Miss can do to find opportunity to attack these safeties, I think the more and more success you see in this passing game for Ole Miss. Okay, and here is a great example of that. Texas is going to work a double move on the safety. So here they go. Ole Miss likes to work a ton of double moves. They typically do it with their outside receivers. If you get corners, doesn't matter to the field, to the boundary, if you get this corner to back off and play with depth, Ole Miss is going to hitch and slant him until he's aggressive, and then they are going to either run a hitch and go or a slant and go, and they will call that 3 to 5 times a game. Here, because they play so much press, instead of working an outside double move, they are going to double move the glance route from the slot. They're going to isolate this safety, get him to drive, and then they're going to jump back outside on the double move. If you can get these free releases and you can get up on those safeties, the double move is 100% there. And with a well-thrown ball, you can absolutely expose these safeties. Jordan Watkins, if healthy, Caden Lee, if healthy, are both excellent route runners that if Ole Miss can get them on the safeties and get those one-on-one matchups and hold up in protection, there is 100% opportunity to double move those guys and create explosives just like you see Texas do. I mean, bottom line is if this ball is better thrown, it's a walk-in touchdown. He has to wait on the ball. He kind of juggles it a little bit. And they don't get the result that they 100% should have had on this particular play. Few plays later in the game, okay, just kind of moving on. Again, I told you one of the places that I anticipate Ole Miss trying to attack is the middle of the field. And you can see in this diagram, it is not easily and clearly guarded here by the Florida defense. They are concerned about the boundary. They are playing that cover 2 look into the boundary. They are playing what appears to be either a man or even a cover 3 look down to the field. You do have the safety or the corner deep. Okay, you've got safety in position to play either catch man or be the flat. Texas is going to try to manipulate things by now motioning the running back out of the backfield. As a defense, it forces a couple of reactions. One, I can go take the running back in the flat, which now gives my slot a clear release down the middle of the field that's uncapped. Or this guy responds, which again isolates my slot on a nickel. So here, they're going to push the back out in motion. There's the response right there. Okay. The receiver just works right down the middle of the field. In this scenario, he ends up matched up on a Mike linebacker, and they just miss. Now, because they are playing this inverted coverage here, this corner is looking, if this ball is right down the seam, the corner is going to be able to get over the top and kind of apex the 2 vertical routes. He bends it to the middle of the field. A well-timed ball keeps it away from this field corner. He's playing with enough depth to react late. But again, middle of the field, this is a 3rd and 5 right here. And an easy crossing route, an easy post right down the pipe. Again, if this ball is thrown in rhythm, it's another opportunity for explosive. So there are holes in the middle of the field. And if you recognize the coverage, there is opportunity to attack it. A little bit later, and I always like to show, or I often like to show this particular concept because it is a bedrock foundational concept for the Ole Miss offense, and it is just a version of Y cross. So again, one that they like to do where they show screen to the boundary. He's going to show like he's blocking and release. They're going to work the cross from the backside with either a dig or a post route. Quarterback is going to go 1 to 2 to 3 in his progression. As the back comes across, if he's not in protection, he's going to be out here. He becomes number 4, and you also have an easy front side check down if everybody clears out with the fake screen and go to this side. Okay, but again, here's a look at the bracket coverage. In particular, the bracket coverage here on the backside slot running this crossing route. So here, Ewer's eyes go to the bottom. Okay, he doesn't like it. He knows over here I essentially have 3 over 2. So my eyes go backside right now. Because the way that they are playing bracket here, I have inside leverage to be prepared to drive that crossing route. If Ewers gets his eyes backside quickly, and this receiver will come flat out of his break, again, you were looking at 2nd and 7 with a very easy completion, because once again, where's the void in the defense, Neil?
It's right in the middle.
It's right in the middle.
Yeah.
Right. It gets repetitive watching this game in particular and seeing how much space exists
the whole game
right in front of that safety and behind the linebacker.
Yeah, the whole game, it's right there.
Absolutely opportunity to feast in that part of the field if this is the coverage structure that Florida wants to bring in their game plan on Saturday. Okay. One more. Okay. Another a look at a different kind of coverage structure right here. Still playing their bracket principle now. They're going to be manned here, and now they show man to the backside. We have 2 over 2 with help from an inside player right here. Okay, and you can see Texas is going to come out and they are going to flush those safeties with these vertical routes. If the middle of the field opens up, clearly you have a way to attack on the inside, but they are also going to pair it with this little sluggo double move, maybe just intentional gamed release right here by the outside receiver. And there is some length at the corner in the Florida secondary. But you can see here, really nice release right here. Set him up, get his hips inside, boom, sluggo, and pop back outside. The bracket clears the safety and the nickel out of position, and there's the receiver wide open. Again, with a good ball, should be an easy throw and catch, 4-6. It gets called out of bounds here because he's juggling the ball. But again, you can see there's space in the middle of the field. Here comes Florida. They're going to cap the middle of the field. They're going to take it away. So be aggressive on the outside. Use the double moves. Try to keep their length from being an issue with just more traditional route structure, and try to attack them with their feet and hips. Take their
just
length.
For the record, that's a depleted Florida secondary. They're down 3 corners and a safety. I think.
I think that's right.
They're playing very deep into their roster in the secondary. Even what I've noticed with Texas against them is it Helm? Is that the tight end for Texas?
I believe so.
I mean, he was open repeatedly
several times
in what you were showing. Yeah,
several times in the course of that game, and times that I did not choose to highlight.
Right.
So, okay, thought we'd kind of change the script over a little bit here. Turn our attention to the Florida offense. So we're going to look at 2 different games. Second half of the Tennessee game when Lagway comes in, and then first half of the Georgia game before Lagway gets hurt and goes out of the game with his injury. Early in the season, they recruited him for a reason. He was high school player of the year for a reason. He's out there wearing number 2, looking like Cam Newton, because he's every bit of 6'2", 6'3". He's every bit of 230, 240 pounds. He is mobile. He has a live arm. But early in the season, they tried to protect him. They tried not to open the game plan too much. And you see some evolution, I think. They're more comfortable with what they're giving him. And you certainly see some of the talent as well. But you also still see some mistakes from the young quarterback. I mean, looking at the numbers on the season, he is 69 for 118. So you're talking about a 58.5% completion percentage, just shy of 1,300 yards, 7 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, right? Nothing explosive about the numbers. Nothing just off the charts. It's 11 yards an attempt. It's just nothing crazy. It's 144 yards a game. Again, nothing crazy. Now, he hasn't been the full-time starter in all of those games. So the yards per game number's a little bit misleading. But the 7 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, he's had some misses that I know he'd love to have back that very easily could have been big plays and could have been touchdowns. And obviously he has had some misses that resulted in turnovers that we know he would like back. So this is an example of that. Second half of that Tennessee game, obviously they are on the road. And so Florida comes out here, and they try to give him a nice little double move, easy play action. Again, very similar to something that you might see Ole Miss do, something that's very much a part of that offense. So they're just going to work this little kind of inverted sail. So they're going to push vertical here. He's going to stem inside and then work back to the sail. The back is going to come off and be the check down here into the flat. Lagway is going to come off the play action. He's going to set his eyes, and he sees his first option is being taken away, and he locks in on this sail route. He does not see number 7 getting underneath it, and he turns and throws it right to him. Now, you drop the ball in, there's space potentially to put that ball to the sidelines and get a completion. But the other thing the young quarterback has to do is realize that the underneath player is playing with depth, is playing with eyes, and take the check down to his running back. You can see even the Tennessee coach is here trying to point to the running back because he realizes he's wide open, right? But Lagway, again, young quarterback on the road early in his career, just doesn't see it and just kind of sails this one right to the Tennessee defense for an easy turnover that sets the offense up in the red zone. Come back, I believe Tennessee scores. So just a few plays later, they are back on the field again. They want to give him a little bit of confidence, so they try to give him an easy RPO read. Okay, he's managing the offense. He's calling things, he's seeing things, and he makes the right read here. Okay, the numbers dictate, the read dictates he should be throwing this ball, and this ball is thrown on a rope against a pushed pocket where he's getting pressure off the edge. Trust his guy to win. There's the win right there. Throws a great ball, creates a nice explosive play for him to convert him first down. You see when the kid throws and plays with confidence, the tools are there. He has an understanding of what they're trying to do.
There's no questioning his physical talent. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more reps he has gotten, the better he has proven to be. Okay. Now, I'll be honest, I put this clip on here for several different reasons, and part of it is I honestly am curious what the run scheme is here, and part of the reason that I wanted to highlight it is because this might be a version of midline. So typically when you run zone read as an offense, and you're working, let's say, zone to the left, and the offensive line will be working the zone, normal structure would be that you're going to work these two interior linemen up to the backer, and the quarterback is going to read this outside defender. When you run midline, you move the read along the front. Instead of being the outside defender, you're going to run somebody and read somebody in the middle, thus the name midline. Okay, so now that means that the zone is still going to work to the offense's left, but now instead of this tackle coming down to build the combo on this 3 technique, he is going to turn out. Okay, they're going to actually release the tight end here. The tackle is going to turn out, and the read would tell him that if this defender is upfield, the ball should go to my tailback, who is going to be here. And if this defender were to squeeze, then the quarterback is going to pull it and replace him. The tight end releasing should in a lot of defenses expand this linebacker, leaving you with a massive running lane for the quarterback. It's just old school option principles. Okay. Here, the defensive tackle actually slants. So there's the read, there's the pull, and there's tons of open grass for the young player. Now, I would guarantee that the conversation in film was stay vertical, don't cut outside, right? And there is a difference. I think I saw one of the interviews that you did, or maybe it was from Mondays from the press release or the press conference talking to the players where, he was kind of compared to Sellers a little bit from South Carolina. Yeah. I think Sellers has more breakaway speed than Lagway does. Right. He looks
like especially with Lagway with the hamstring, he's not going to run like Lenore Sellers.
Yeah, the speed is not the same. And they did not use his legs as much last week. That's for sure. You wonder now, another week of getting healthy, how much more do they use him? The one thing I can say about the Ole Miss defense is, some success against them has been because of quarterbacks that can run. You saw it early in the Oklahoma game, and then it appears maybe the flip was switched in that Ole Miss defense, and certainly been a different team since the halftime of that game. But you even late in the Arkansas game, and yes, Ole Miss was playing with the lead, but even once Arkansas' starting quarterback goes out and you bring in the backup and they're running all this quarterback run game and he's finding some success in the run game. So, and that's always, it's the case with a lot of defenses. If you can run the quarterback, you can be effective. Well, when you're the Ole Miss defense and so much of your production against the run comes from your interior players, from Walter Nolan, from J.J. Pegues, from Xavion Harris, right? Reading those guys and not trying to block them is an effective way to try to neutralize the effect and their presence on the game. Because they're not accustomed to being read the way that an outside player might be accustomed to being read. So I'm curious to see if they feel like he's healthy, if they feel like the hamstring is good, will we see Florida try and read interior defensive linemen? And if they do, what will the Ole Miss defensive response be? Okay. Now, if there were one play in this game that makes you look at the kid and go, I get it. It's this play here. Late in the game, he is going to step up. Tennessee gets decent pressure. They kind of flush the pocket. This is a 3rd and 18, 3rd and 19. They set up field. The pocket doesn't collapse, but it opens up in front of him. He's going to step up, and instead of just taking off to run, eyes remain downfield. They work a double move on the safety, and he throws a rope on the move downfield for a touchdown.
In a window, yep.
In a window. It is, and you can watch it from the end zone and watch him throw from this off-platform position. It is a wonderful throw. Looks like Rocky Top's got the camera shaking a little bit. Okay, great throw on the move over the linebacker in a window and just zips that thing in there. I mean, that is a first play of the scout film type throw that you're showing people if you're breaking down Lagway. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So he becomes the guy. Early in the Georgia game, he's the guy until the hamstring gives him a problem. So we're going to roll through and look at some of that. Again, this is a healthy Lagway. This is him with a hamstring that's not hampering him at this point in the season. And so they are going to use his effectiveness as a runner. They do a decent job in every game of using motion, using shifts to get to certain looks and protect certain things. Here they shift into an empty front or an empty formation, tight end in the wing. They motion the tailback out wide, and now they are going to use that tailback to get into a power read look. Okay, here he's reading the end man on the line of scrimmage. If that end is upfield, Lagway keeps it. If that end squeezes, steps down, he's going to put the ball on the perimeter, and he is going to try and stress the edge. Here, he makes the right read. They do a pretty good job of blocking it up. Quite honestly, the tailback has to get outside. You teach your tailback in this scheme, it's like a 200-meter dash, right? You are trying to get to the edge, and he just cuts up too early. If he continues to press the edge right there, Florida has a big play to start that game, and instead he just cuts up too early. Very next play, again, settle the young quarterback in, continue to use his legs. They're going to give him an easy throw out, a triple option type read, but he is reading this in man. He is reading whatever shows up in that outside gap. Georgia works a run stunt. They're going to bring this stand-up end through C gap. They're going to bring the mic around. They are almost trying to bait the pull by the quarterback, and if he pulls it, have somebody sitting in the lap to make the play. Okay, he sees the end upfield. He hands it off, but the offensive line does a good enough job handling the shift. The tight end does a good enough job on Chambliss. 11 is too wide in his path, and there's the cutback right there. And it's a nice tackle by number 3. If he does not get his right hand around the knee of the tailback, you are up on Malachi Starks in the safety in a hurry. So this is, again, early in the game. You've given him an easy first down read, an easy second down read. Now you get him into a 3rd and 4 type situation. Okay, so they are going to give him a nice little man-to-man beater because that is the tendency from this Georgia defense. It is the same tendency you were likely to see from the Ole Miss defense. So they're going to use motion to create an easy, natural rub route for his outside receiver coming across the formation. Okay, Lagway does a nice job. He drops back. It's there in his progression. He's on time. Ball's slightly behind because he kind of pulls his front foot out of there and kind of throws with his weight going backwards. But it's a catchable ball. Move the sticks, and Florida is off and moving a little bit in this game. As the game goes on, as he gets more comfortable with what he's seeing from the Georgia defense, they start to take the chains off just a little bit more. Showed you the previous play with the pocket movement where he looks to push the ball downfield. Similar play right here. This time he just misses on the throw. Ball sails a little bit high, but again, there's no panic in the pocket. 2 hands are on the football, climb the pocket, keep the eyes downfield. Under duress now, it is a 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7. Instead of taking off, he sees the open player. He is confident enough to try and put the ball into the window right there. If you're Ole Miss, the hope is it's these near misses or it's bad decisions. You want to see him put that ball into a space where he may not see a linebacker or a safety that is coming into vision. Come back the next drive, next time he's on the field a few plays later, and they are going to push the ball down the field. They trust their offensive line in protection situations. Here you can see they're going to pull 2 players. They're going to build out a 7-man protection. Tight end doesn't feel like his guy's blitzing, so he releases. It turns into a 6-man protection. And here Lagway is going to come to the top of his drop, and he is going to deliver a dot down the field on this double post concept. They're going to work this double post from the left side. They're going to bring the single receiver across from the bottom of the screen.
Yep.
Again,
got him on a linebacker, right?
So what they did was they got him matched up on this weak side safety.
Okay.
So this weak safety's eyes are here. When he sees run, a lot of times he's going to be a late addition to the fit. Or
I saw him come up into the box, I thought.
Yep. So he is going to, all right, he's a little patient, but you can see, so they have, he's playing the deep half here, but he sees the fit. He sees the inside release. It tempers his feet just enough. Lagway is going to he's got eyes on him now. There he is coming down. That is just enough for the receiver. The receiver's on the same page as the quarterback. He's going to stay tall and replace it. And there they are right over his head for a touchdown. This kid can push the ball down the field. He does it well. He does it effortlessly. And they do have a few receivers that still have some ability to get the ball down the field. But you can see it here. You can see it from the end zone. Use the motion to help identify the coverage. He knows it's zone. Watch his eyes. Here, his eyes are on 24 the entire time. They never leave it. He knows right now, here he comes stepping down. He knows where his receiver should be going to. He finds him. 13 is in his face a little bit. Got a short stroke right there. Put the ball up. Absolute dot. Got to do a good job without discipline on the back end.
You can see why everybody recruited him. That's for damn sure.
And you can understand how I'm sure he has been pre-portaled, you know, and I know he is. Yeah. Right. And I know he has talked about, you know, with the kind of affirmation of the athletic department and sticking with the staff. He has talked about staying there and the importance of it. But you can see if he has any interest in getting in the portal, that why most of the country is going to be there for it. Okay?
I mean, you can see how he would figure into the calculus with Napier a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you're sitting in that you know, academic or that athletic administration office and you feel like your best chance to keep this kid is with Napier on the sideline, it plays a role.
Yeah.
Because you lose Napier, you're paying that buyout, you're trying to bring in somebody else, and you're trying to pay all those buyouts and all those contracts. And, oh, by the way, you're either going to have to shoot the moon for the best player potentially on your roster, or you're going to have to rebuild. And it's not a win-win situation. You know,
I mean, he's listed as 6'3", 239. Clearly can move, and he's got a hose for a right arm. I mean, he can make it happen.
Absolutely. This is the exact same play that I showed you. This was the second play that I showed you from this game where they bring the guy in motion and they're going to work the zone read. They're doing the same thing here. Okay. There's the read. The player bites down on the running back. He is going to pull it. If they are comfortable using his legs in the run game on Saturday, Ole Miss is going to have to do a great job of having hats, not only to match the interior run, but making sure that you have covered him up. Again, even, you know, especially now, but even before, you can see he is not a slow individual. He is not necessarily separating from people the way that we've seen Green at Arkansas do and the way that we've seen Sellers at South Carolina do. But you're going to have to do a good job if they're going to use his legs of corralling him. This is actually the play where the hamstring gets hurt. It's a great thing for a young quarterback. Very simple and effective. They are going to run a screen to the boundary. So they're in an empty set, and you have a screen to the boundary. He can, if numbers and leverage dictate it, easily throw that screen. If you get man-to-man, you have double slants to the field. You take the one-on-one matchup or the softest throw. All things are even. You have two deep safeties, one linebacker in the box with a three-man front. The math says quarterback draw. So it is essentially a quarterback run RPO, or it might even be considered a pass run option instead of a run pass option. Everything about the numbers here dictate run. So he's going to take the snap. He's going to just quickly give eyes to the screen to try and manipulate this overhang player. And now he is going to go insert on the quarterback draw. This was on a 1st and 10. And again, you can see it here. He likes to go sideways more than he likes to go vertical because just like I showed you earlier, right? What do you think they talked about in the film room the next day? That's where that ball should be, right? Here, he gets outside the end, his crossed face, forces him out even a gap wider. And right there, when he sticks that foot in the ground and kind of loses balance, that's when it happens, and you see he grabs for it immediately, and that's when he goes out of the game, and things start to turn a little bit for the Gators, okay? We know he'll be back on the field on Saturday. It is a big question of how healthy is he, how much do they want to use his legs. If Ole Miss lets him sit clean in the pocket, he is good enough to throw the football and put it down the field. He'll make mistakes, but he's talented enough to make plays and score points if they let him sit freely in the pocket. And if he's healthy, his legs are certainly something that the Ole Miss defense is going to have to account for to get the result they want walking out of Gainesville.
I think there's some emotional calculus in this too for Florida. They get Florida State next week, a chance to just stick like a giant dagger into their season. There's right now in the process of poaching a lot of Florida State's recruiting class. Gotta think, unless they're really in it late third, early fourth, Napier goes, hey, no one's going to say anything about me losing to the 9th ranked team in the country.
Yeah. Let
me make sure I got my guy for next week.
Because you have to win the next week.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is a great call.
You know, if they've got a shot to be Cinderella and pull off the shocker, then you go for it. But I don't know how much, if Ole Miss is up 14, 17 points, I kind of think Billy keeps his powder dry.
Yeah,
he got his big win last week. You know, I mean, he silenced that.
Yes,
he made the Texas loss go away. He's like, hey, I didn't have him. I mean, we didn't have dudes. Yep. You know, we went over there. We didn't have everybody. We got beat, but we came back. Look what we did against LSU. Hey, we beat Florida State. We're 6-6. We're going to go play in some Purina Cat Chow bowl game and figure it out. But hey, we got this kid to build around for next season, and look at the recruits that are coming in, and you can sell that. I mean, that's not a difficult sell.
No, it's not. You know, and so yeah, you know, if you're Ole Miss, you want to go down there and make good things happen early.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I'll get your thoughts in a second. I've said it all week. I think Ole Miss wins big. This feels South Carolina-ish, Arkansas-ish for me. I mean, they're going to be really focused. I know people were freaked out about the whole Ole Miss never wins and Fayetteville thing, and I was like, it's not a good matchup. Ole Miss is going to win that game. I thought they'd win it fairly handedly, and they won it far more handedly than I thought they would. And this is, to me, it's reminiscent of that, and maybe even a little more, if I'm honest.
Yeah, if Ole Miss can play anywhere near the level that they've played the last 2 ball games, there's certainly reason to believe that they'll walk out of Gainesville with a comfortable win.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Pete, that was awesome. Really appreciate it. We've been brought to you each and every week by our friends at Meadowbrook Wealth Advisors of Raymond James. Don't forget, you can get in touch with them at 601-368-2215, or Ryan, that's RYAN, .Geary, GEARY, at RaymondJames.com. Please make sure that you tell them that you heard about it here on Pete's Pigskin Preview, MPW Digital. Don't forget, we'll have lots of coverage from Ole Miss at Florida on Saturday, MPW Digital postgame show presented by Realtree, and more. So we'll talk after the show about what we're doing for next week. But we'll have a show next week getting you ready for the Egg Bowl, this time in Oxford on Friday afternoon, Mississippi State at Ole Miss. So we'll take a look at Jeff Lebby and the Bulldogs before that one here on MPW Digital. For Pete Deweese, I'm Neil McCready. Until next time, take care.